What are you seeing with Julio right now?
He's in a slump. He's struggling, and like so many around him, and it's what exacerbates it. Is he's missing? He's missing. He's not hitting the pitches that he gets to pitch or gets to hit. He's a little conscious right now of that ball that's in, and I think he's not the only one in our lineup that's feeling it. And what that does when you're focused there is it restricts your ability to go get the ball away. And that's something that Julio's always done very well, is drive the ball to the other side of the field. And, I was pleased with his final at bat yesterday, that he found a way to pass the baton and not try to do too much. But I think, to this point, Julio has that star quality to him. He knows that he is a driver in our lineup. And, like so many other guys, like Ty, like Gino, like Teoscar, these guys, they are trying to do something to create for this team. And when you're pushing too hard, you wind up like we are right now, where scoring runs is just such a premium.
Is he a perfectionist?
Julio?
Yeah.
I think to some level, all great athletes or whatever it is, entertainers, butchers, bakers, they're all perfectionists to some extent. And that's not uncommon. What Julio's great at is turning the page. Once that at bat is over, once that game is over, he has a real knack or ability to turn the page. And right now it's, very similar to last April. He's not finding the going so easy. And just like we saw last May, when the switch flips for him, it's just such a different type of talent. And it'll flip. He still has all the same traits that resulted in the season we watched last year. He's actually a little ahead of where he was last year. And I think the difference is, last year in April, you were watching a 21-year-old who's being introduced to the game, at this level for the first time. And this go around, you're looking at a guy who entered the season with a lot of fanfare, defending Rookie of the Year, an All-Star, and Silver Slugger, and that comes with expectation. And I don't think Julio is putting too much pressure on himself. I just think he's truly outside of his own game. And once he reels in the pitches he's swinging at, which is almost always what it's about, I think he's going to be great.
This was Jeff Passan with us, Jerry, on Tuesday with a pretty strong opinion on Julio.
And he was supposed to be the tone setter. He was supposed to be the guy putting up Jared Kelnick's numbers. And with Julio not being who we expected him to be, and I know who he expected himself to be, the tone is a little bit different because, as Julio goes, so go the M's. And he hasn't been terrible by any means, but if this is who he's going to be this year, if he's not, the dynamic Julio Rodriguez of 2022, the Mariners I think they're going to be in for a long season.
Is that a fair pressure and expectation on Julio?
Yeah, I guess my takeaway is, it's the first week of May, Julio's on pace for a 30-30 season and has been a league average offensive player while he's going through, what is probably as big a slump as he's experienced in his career. That's a pretty good player in a slump. So I don't know that I see this as a dire issue. What we're not getting is the consistency that he showed from May to season's end last year, particularly what he was doing to drive us through midsummer. And it's really hard to sustain that from opening day through 162. You're going to go through some highs and lows. Unfortunately for Julio, like some of our other guys, they started their season in the low, and that just makes it feel like you're clawing back. But, I do agree with Jeff that, as Julio goes, so goes the Mariners. He's our leadoff hitter. He's the big bat that kind of drives the lineup. And if you can combine that with the histories of the guys around him and what we're seeing from Jared Kelnick this year, it gives us such a different offense. We just have to get all those guys clicking at the same time.
You can end up with a second Rookie of the Year after watching Bryce Miller the other day. I mean, it was just one start, but I'm already ready to proclaim him the second coming. How impressive was that?
I have to say, he I'm thinking back to last May with George Kirby's debut against the Phillies and just how calm George looked. And I think that was the most stunning thing for me with Bryce is just how calm he was.
Sure.
He's a very laid back guy. He doesn't allow the moment to get too big for him. And, we believed that he was going to be able to go out there and execute pitches, repeat his stuff. But, you're looking to see some level of nervousness, and you didn't see it. He looked like he'd been doing this for decades, and Bryce's stuff is so good, and the impact of his fastball is elite. So to get him out there and get his career started and believe that he can continue to make an impact for the next 25, 27 starts and help us get to where we want to go. Because the one thing that is not questionable is how good our pitching has been. And, for him to take up the mantle and do what he did night before last, it's a special thing to watch for a young guy.
So is that the goal, for him to remain in the rotation as long as possible?
Yeah, it's he's built out. He threw a full season of starts last year, and Bryce he's also pretty resilient. His arm bounces back and in a good way. We're going to see here. He'll pitch on Sunday at home, and we'll see him pitch on a 5-day rotation for the first time, which is something that I guess a nuance of the 6-game schedules and or 6-game series in the minor leagues in the last couple of years is that very often you're not going to get too many starts in an annual like a baseball schedule where the minor league starter is pitching on 5 days rest. So it's going to be his next challenge. First time this year he's doing that. So I think he'll bounce back, and our goal is that he becomes a part of what we're doing, that 13-man crew that's really giving us a chance every night.
I think I saw some next level numbers the other day after his start, Jerry, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he defied gravity as well as any other pitcher in the league other than that kid out of Atlanta, Strider. That those two, as far as like they now measure how much like inches of break, right? Because most normal pitchers have some movement on everything, and his rise in his fastball and just his utter power and velocity. It's at a place that very few, is that fair to say, in all of baseball can contend with how hard and how powerful that arm is?
Yeah, and it's that high-end, top rail ride. And, through the course of his development, especially over the last couple of years, a pitcher that he was often compared to was Spencer Strider. And it's a special fastball. I think you've heard me say this, when talking about him back in the spring or even in the off season, when I talked about players that could potentially impact our season. We felt like Bryce had the best fastball in minor league baseball. And there's going to be a few guys that throw harder, probably not a ton, but a few guys who throw harder. The special trait that his fastball has when he's at the top of the zone, and his ability, as you saw the night before last, to go out there and locate it, especially getting back in counts. He's not throwing middle strikes when he's 2-1. He's going out and he's locating a fastball. And so when you have that kind of special quality to a fastball, it really gives you a great foundation, especially in a league that is breaking ball, softer stuff oriented. When you get a pitcher out there throwing 70-75% fastballs like Bryce did, it's just a different look, and I think that stands to be a separator for him.